Hey friends, welcome to my May TBR. So I'm going to talk about the 13 books that I'm going to read this month. And I've been in a really good stride with reading lately. For those who don't know my taste, I like all genres. My main preferences are high fantasy. I love a good romantasy, but then I also love thriller, horror, and literary fiction. I'm all across the board. So every month, there are definitely certain rituals I have to try and include as much of different types of reading as possible. So you're going to see that in that TBR today. And again, there's 13 books. I'm really excited for so many of them. I have been coming across some really good books lately, and there's also been some disappointments lately. I've definitely had a few books that were really hyped that ended up not being for me. And so I'm really hoping I have better luck this month. But without further ado, let's just get into the books that I will be reading this May. So the very first read that I'm excited about that I actually don't have my hands on yet because it hasn't even come out is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. So just for full transparency, I actually gave her other series, Is It One Dark Window, a try, and it just wasn't as good as I feel like the hype was portraying. I'm gonna give it another try though, because I listened to it through audio and the audiobook just wasn't doing it for me. So I actually stopped about halfway through, and I'm actually gonna get back to those and try them again later this year because these really pretty special editions are coming out at Barnes & Noble, and I'm just gonna take full advantage of that. But this book just looks like it was made for me. I very much am a medieval fantasy type of girl. It is just everything I know and love. It feels like it's in my cells at this point. So when I hear about this story and I see this cover, I am just so ready for it. So looking on Goodreads, it is coming out May 20th. So I'm gonna get it right away. I already have it pre-ordered. And it says, from book talk sensation Rachel Gillig comes the next big romantasy phenomenon, a gothic mist-cloaked tale, best word you could possibly use, of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. Okay, he's already different. It's a little forbidden. It's giving Twilight, where he can't hear her thoughts, and that's what makes her intriguing, which we love. Sybil Delling has spent 9 years dreaming of having no dreams at all. Like the other foundling girls who traded a decade of service for a home in the Great Cathedral, Sybil is a diviner. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as omens. That's so interesting. From them, she can predict terrible things before they occur, and lords and common folk alike travel across the kingdom of Trowns, windswept moors, to learn their futures by her dreams. Okay, so already it's giving kind of darker, moody setting, very gothic, which again, I love. If you mix medieval with this dreary, mist-cloaked vibe, I am there. I find that actually way more cozy than anything that feels a bit more bright and sunny. So this is probably gonna be for me. Just as she and her sister diviners near the end of their service, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral. Rude, heretical, and devilishly handsome, the knight Roderick has no respect for Sybil's visions. Not Sir Roderick. If you know, you know. When Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek his help in finding them. For the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answer she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, I bet he's, okay, we're not doing that. Only a heretic can defeat a god. This is so intriguing. I'm really hoping, I don't know if this is an adult fantasy by her or a young adult. I'm really hoping it's an adult fantasy. I do love young adult fantasy. There are many that are just so, so good. In my personal preference, I would always rather it just be an adult fantasy because we've gotten to the age, y'all, where like some things in YA I can only take so much of, but I am excited for that. I'm gonna read it as soon as it comes out and almost definitely be doing a reading vlog on this book. Okay, so the next book I'm gonna read this month is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I know I am so far behind, but here's the thing. Here's what happened. So I was really consistent with reading Emily Henry books every year until Happy Place came out. And for whatever reason, I really love Emily Henry. She's the patron saint of romances right now. But I feel like it started to get a little predictable. Like when you read an Emily Henry every summer, you kind of know what you're getting. From what I hear though, I hear Happy Place is amazing. I hear this one's amazing, funny story. And the new one that just came out is kind of seeing a lot of different reviews on that, which makes me excited to read it. However, I hear a lot of people's favorites is Funny Story. And so I actually got Kindle copy from Libby for like a week. And so I'm gonna read it this week. And the only reason why I haven't bought the book is there's these special editions that are coming out of all of her books one by one. So I just bought the Beach Read edition, and People We Meet on Vacation is coming out. And so I really am hoping she releases these versions for all of her books, because that's the collection I want on my shelf. They're so stunning. But let's take a moment to look at what this book is about. I know a lot of you probably already know, but I truly am going in blind. I make it a point to not read synopses of books too early. I actually like to be a bit surprised, and sometimes I don't even read them if I can help it. But let's see what's going on here. So, a shimmering, joyful new novel about a pair of opposites with the wrong thing in common. Daphne always loved the way her fiance Peter told their story. Oh, Daphne, one of my best friends' names is Daphne. How they met on a blustery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. We probably hate Peter. I'm already getting that vibe. He really was good at telling it right until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra. Nope. I knew he hated him. I knew it. Which is how Daphne begins her new story, stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, always Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills. That's so cute. And proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex, Miles Nowak. Not a roommate situation. What? That's actually crazy. So with the man who your former fiance cheated on, like cheated with his, what, you know what I mean? Like that's actually crazy. Okay, this is messy. Scruffy and chaotic with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads. Miles is exactly the opposite of practical, buttoned-up Daphne, whose coworkers know so little about her. They have a running bet that she's either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates basically avoid one another until one day, while drowning their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex's fiance's new fiance's ex, right? Okay, so it is confusing. It's not just me. This is messy. But as we know, Emily Henry has a way of making messy so wholesome and cute, where we're here for it. So I'm excited. I did not know that this plot was that messy though. Like I'm like low-key triggered by it. I'm like, what? This awful man did this to her? So yeah, it's kind of probably gonna make me mad, but I'm excited. I mean, yeah, so many people love this, so I cannot wait to read it. I feel like it's just gonna put me in such a good mood, and it's gonna be like a warm hug. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, the third book I'm going to read in May, which I am so excited about, is Valor by John Gwynne. So this is the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series, which there are 4 books in the series, and they're all very hefty. Now, this is what is considered a high fantasy, and oh my God. Okay, but this is considered what is that? Okay, this is considered a high fantasy, which just means the world building is really extensive. It's multi-POV, but what I will say, if that level of complexity is not your vibe, I wouldn't recommend it, but if it is, or you're not sure, John Gwynne makes it so accessible. I truly don't know if I've read an author that doesn't, how do I say this? Like pretentiously write complicated fantasy narratives just for the sake of it. Like paragraph is so intentional, there's no filler, and he describes things in a really immersive but also simple way that's like understand. And I don't even say that in a way like if you don't understand fantasy then you should read this. It's like makes it as simple as possible so you really feel like you're in the conversations, the combat. He is so good at writing combat. So if you have any experience reading fantasy, you know when you read the fight scenes, and you feel like you're kind of skimming over them because it's a little bit of filler. Not with John Gwynn. Nope, not here. Because every swing of the sword, every block with the shield, every sidestep, you feel like you are just hanging on to every word, because he makes you really care about every step that these characters take while they are fighting or doing any type of conflict, because it's all intentional. So let's say a character is in the middle of a sword fight and he tilts the sword a certain way or does a back step. That move, you will know that character so well. You will understand their fighting style, why they do what they do. And there's so much more to this book just on the fighting. What this is about is it's about this desolate continent called the Banished Lands. And the Banished Lands exist in this post-apocalyptic continent where previously to this, gods ruled. And it's kind of good versus evil plot where there is kind of good God who really created the earth, and then there's like evil God. And what's going on right now is there's a prophecy that is about to become true in book 1. This is book 2. And there are certain characters in this story who, based on the prophecy, are going to play a big part in this upcoming war. And there's also conflict with giants in the past, and just really like the hero's journey that a lot of these characters go through. And it is just such a good classic fantasy. You guys, look at this map. Such a good map. So pretty. I actually am so obsessed with this series. I already like ordered this map on Etsy to like put somewhere because I just think it's so beautiful. But really good cast of characters, amazing fleshed out dialogues, good combat scenes. You will not be disappointed. This is book 2, and I'm just so obsessed with it. Okay, the 4th book I will be reading this month is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So I read this book when I was young, like so many of us, and I just had to read it. It wasn't something that I chose. But I'm so excited to read it now. I definitely want to get more into the classics, and I have a goal right now, I think, to read a classic a month. That sounds really fun to me, and I already know I'm gonna love this. Also, I really didn't remember how short this was. This is something I feel like you really could read in a day. It's 147 pages, and how beautiful is this copy? I love it so, so much. There's like the little martini glass here, and for those of you who don't know, this follows this man called Nick Carraway, and he has his cousin named Daisy Buchanan. So a lot of you have probably heard of her. She's very iconic, and there's a lot of references made to this story. And there's also a character called Jay Gatsby who's very wealthy. And so this is set in the 1920s. What's really cool is this book was written in the 1920s. So it's interesting to think about at the time this book was written, it would have been like contemporary fiction. So now we look at it with a different lens because it's like taking travel back in time where we can really understand this time period and look at it through that lens. But this was never written as a historical fiction. This was meant to be contemporary at the time, which I think makes it special. And obviously, anything about this story, is a love between Daisy and Jay Gatsby, and is all I'll say there. I really don't remember too much more of this, but I'm so excited to read it, and I think it's gonna end up becoming a favorite. Okay, now to very sharply pivot in a completely different direction. The 5th book I'm gonna be reading this month in May is the 3rd book in the Zodiac Academy series. You guys, I'm gonna be so transparent. The way I thought I was like a little, you all have that part of us, you know what I mean? Especially if you're a high fantasy lover, I'm calling all of us out right now. You will have this little part of your brain, even if you're the most humble person, like, am I just a little bit better? Like, am I a little bit like more experienced of a reader? I'm not, I am not. I know this, we have self-awareness, but also there's like a little part of you that's like, am I like better and different? And no. Not at all, because this series, okay, book 1 was like, it wasn't a dumpster fire, it was just total brain rot. And I expected that. So this story follows these 2 twins named Tori and Darcy, and they get visited by this hot professor named Professor Orion. Of course he's hot. And he comes from this academy called Zodiac Academy, which is in this parallel Fae world. So it's like a parallel world to our world. And he says, you guys are actually these long lost Fae princesses, and you need to come back and go to this school to learn how to use your powers. So they're like, all right, word, we're gonna go because we have no money and we're living in poverty. So they travel with this professor named Orion to this world called Solaria, I think. Yeah, it's Solaria. And so when they get there, they are revered a little bit and known as these long lost princesses, but it's kind of dicey because since they left, there are these 4 families that are ruling in their place called the Celestial Council. And these are like next in line under the King and Queen of Solaria, who they are descendants from. Their parents died. So now the celestial heirs of the Celestial Council go to their school. And of course, it's these 4 hot guys who are just total bullies to these girls because they don't want them to come into their power. They're next in line without these girls to rule Solaria. And it's really funny because all of them are just so different. It's like if Winx was 4 hot, smutty, bully guys. And like one has earth power, one has fire power, one's wind, one's water. You know, it's just very campy. But it's such a good time, and it's such good escapism. And I actually will reach for books like this, like when I'm reading a high fantasy, because let me be clear, like something like this, I'm like annotating, I'm taking notes, I am just fully reading every line, and it takes a lot more energy, but it's energy worth spent. But when I just want a break and I just want to escape with no effort, these are the books I'm going to. And so book 1 was kind of cringe. I will be so honest. I gave that like a 3. And then I read book 2 and I was like, I am sold, giggling, kicking my feet, the whole thing. And like, I have just been humbled. I get it. I'm on board. So this is book 3. Already I'm like 100 pages in and I'm loving it so far. I'm so excited to get through the series, and I am just here for all of it. And I also just want to say, like, PSC out there for my fellow high fantasy girls or guys or whoever you are, pick up a Great Rot fantasy and see lovingly, like I would say this to myself, if you can just get over yourself a little bit. Don't treat it like you would the high fantasy. It's meant to be a different experience, right? It's kind of supposed to be just roller coaster where you just let go and like with it. Don't analyze it too much. You're not reading it for the writing, you're reading it for the plot. And I just wish I understood this sooner because there's so many more books now that I can get to where it's just all about the plot, baby. We don't need good writing up in here. Okay, the next book I'm going to read in May, which I actually already started, is called Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. And so I'm reading this on my Kindle. And this is a thriller horror about a couple and their baby who move into this old, like a building in New York City. So this building is known historically as strange things happening. It's very gothic, it's very creepy. And so there's all of these urban legends around this place, but this couple, because they've fallen on hard times, won the lottery to snag one of these apartments for cheap. And so they move in and then really weird stuff starts to happen. And like I said, they've fallen on hard times. So very sadly, the mother, who's the main character, she paralyzed when she gave birth to her child. And so this is a really big plot point. Something I'm loving so far is the discussions in here about the feelings that moms can have when have a baby, the potential anger and resentment postpartum. That's something that I really appreciate discussions about, especially as a woman who does not have a child. I always want to understand the perspective of women who do go through these things so I can be understanding and educated. And trigger warning, I think, if that's something that might upset you, maybe of this one. But like I said, weird things start happening pretty much right away. And it is really creepy. It's a fast read. I think it's just under 300 pages maybe, and I'm flying through it. I'm excited to see how this turns out, and this was definitely inspired by Rosemary's Baby. I think I read somewhere, which fits. If you start reading the story, you will get why that is a good comparison. All right, so the next book I'm going to read in May is called The City of Nightbirds by Joo-hye Kim. I hope I'm saying that right. First of all, look at this beautiful cover. This cover is so stunning. I just want to display it. It's gorgeous. And can we just have a discussion? So Reese, thank you. You do a lot of great things for the reading community, but like, can we normalize authors' book clubs not displaying on the front of the book? Like, maybe this is ignorant of me to say, but like, girl, enough for you to just have the book club and like, I read what books you recommend, but like, can we not, like, can we at least make it a sticker? A sticker would be fine, but like, this is so beautiful. And the fact that this is just there, it kind of upsets me. It upsets me. At least it matches. It's fine. City of Nightbirds. Okay, so the plot intrigued me right away, so I'm just going to read you the tagline. It says, a once famous ballerina faces a final choice: to return to the world of Russian dance that nearly broke her, or to walk away forever, in this incandescent novel of redemption and love. So this is about the culture of ballet. It's set in Russia, and it's about this woman named Natalia Leonova. And she goes back to St. Petersburg and she revisits a lot of the people in the ballet community, and they urge her to come in and to rejoin this ballet culture. They ask her to be cast again in one of the upcoming shows, and she has to make this choice whether she's really willing to enter that world or she's going to go back to her previous quiet life. And I started this one, I'm about 50 pages in. The writing is very beautiful. It's very literary. It took a bit to get into, but now I'm at a point where I'm just underlining things that are so reflective and gorgeous. The descriptions are amazing. Just to give you a preview, one of the first lines that happens in this book, it's the first line of this book. It says, I fill my cup with vodka. It tastes of the strange longing peculiar to flying into one's old city at midnight. So gorgeous. So I'm excited to get through this. I've always been really curious about the ballet community, especially as a woman. We all know that there's a lot of tough things there, and we'll see how this one goes. All right, so the next book I want to read this month is kind of a sad, sore topic for me, and I'll explain why. It's Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Tujaku Kawaguchi. I hope I'm saying that right. And I am so sad about this. I'm not loving this. I actually am struggling so hard to get through it, and it's not a long book, you guys. It's like, it's under 300 pages, but the text is really big. Like, it's really, really easy to get through. The writing's not complicated, but I do not like the writing. It very much, I know, was made to be a play. And it really reads like that. It's not very flowy. It's very, very choppy. The dialogue is just not good in my opinion. And this always makes me really sad with translated works, because I think translated works are so important. It makes me so happy when I'm browsing shelves to see a book like this at the front, where it's a Japanese translated novel. And I just think that's more important than anything else. So it makes me really sad when I read a translated work, and I don't think it was done that well, but I know I'm in the minority with this. So when you have this experience, on one end, you're like, is the hype not justified? Because the nature of hype is that it's a wave and things go viral and people like things because other people like them and they're influenced. So is this book rightfully receiving the praise it is, or is it because of the hype, versus is it just not for me and I don't get it, and the girls that get it, and the girls that don't. Maybe I'm just the girls that don't, but I am a reader that really wants to love things. Like, I get no satisfaction out of not liking a book. Like, I really don't take anything away from giving like a bad or a low rating. And so I actually mourn when it happens. And so I'm just really sad that I'm not loving this. It is such a struggle for me to get through, but I'm gonna finish it so I can just really decide finally what I would rate this. But I have heard that the other books, because there are other ones that surround this, are a bit better. And so maybe I'll give those a try. But y'all probably know what this is about. This is about a little coffee shop in Tokyo, and there is magic in this coffee shop. So what happens is you can transport back in time, and you can go into this one specific booth in the coffee shop, and the rules are that you can travel back to a place in time in that coffee shop that occurred, and you can only stay until the coffee gets cold. So these characters are using this power of this coffee shop to go back and have conversations with loved ones or friends or whoever to understand things that happen. But there's some rules with this. One rule is that no matter the conversation you have or things that happen when you travel back in time, it's not going to change the present or the future. So it really does have such a good concept. There are moments of this that I liked in terms of what happened. I think I just really don't like reading it, and so unfortunate, but I will update my thoughts when I finish it. All right, so the next book I plan on reading is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. So this is one that so far this year has gotten a lot of traction. People really, really love it. And I am someone who did love Where the Crawdads Sing. I remember years ago when it first came out, I had the feeling where I felt like that book was written for me. And I know there's been a lot of back and forth opinions on it as it's had more time to gain more readers, but I really enjoyed it. And Delia Owens, she blurbed and said she loved this book, so I'm gonna give this a try. I really love this edition. This is the Barnes & Noble edition. I think it's really, really pretty. It's just my vibe. It looks like a work of art, and the inside cover is just really gorgeous. I love that. So I don't know too much about this plot. Once again, I actually don't pick book ups a lot based on the synopsis because I like to go in a bit blind. So sometimes I'll go based on authors who recommend it, or you guys, a community, whatever it is, and then I'll just kind of see how it goes, which actually works out for me a lot of the time. But here's what it says. The tagline says, in quotes, "The farmer is dead. He is dead, and all anyone wants to know is who killed him." Okay, I'm seeing why Delia Owens blurred this. If you know, you know. Until kind husband Frank are happily married, though their relationship relies on the past staying buried. Okay, so this is very much small town murder mystery. It kind of sounds like this is going to be a mystery, but with literary vibes to it, and that sounds nice to me. I actually do like books like this. If that is. I recently finished God of the Woods, and unfortunately, I thought it was really good, but that book I thought was mismarketed as a thriller. Literally, the tagline says something like a thrilling or something like that. And when you go into a thriller, you expect there to be some type of twist or jolt you're going to have when you get to the point of the story. And that doesn't happen with that book. It is kind of a literary mystery, and it's a long one at that. So it was so good. Just don't expect a thriller. I could see this book maybe being kind of similar. You'll have to tell me, but I'm excited, and it's pretty short too. It's not super long. So I'm ready to get to that this month. Okay, the next I want to finish this month is called The Waiting Game by Nicola Clark. And similar to reading a classic a month, I also want to aim to read a history book once a month. So this is a nonfiction history on the untold story of the women who served the Tudor queens. So it's all about the ladies in waiting and just their politics, what they needed to do to survive, and actually how a lot of these women were responsible indirectly for some of the consequences during this time. And a lot of the times, of course, these women were just seen as the gossipers, kind of the mice in the background. And actually, why I think women develop so much emotional intelligence, not just today, but throughout generations, is because that is how they survived. These women, while seen as the ladies in waiting to these queens and, to people in the court, they ultimately were pulling the strings. And so this is so interesting because this author actually dedicated her life's work and her studies to these unnamed women. And she names these women, gives you a background, and I have read a little bit so far. I'm like, what's that one picture of that guy with the crime scene? That's what I do in these types of books. I want to connect everything. I want to understand these women. Something I'm really passionate about is understanding how women survived and thought in the past, in history. And so I think this is going to be really interesting, and I'm already overanalyzing everything, so it's great fun. So the next book I want to get to is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So I am a big Greek mythology girly. I was one of those kids who, even pre-Hercules, so I was a kid when Hercules came out, but pre-Hercules, my parents got me that book of mythology. That's one of those really classic reference books, and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was so interesting, and I love this renaissance of Greek retellings that are coming out now because it will help you better understand these myths in a way that's easy to digest. So the thing about this one is I actually started this a while ago. So I have 100 pages of this, but it has taken me a long time to get through it. And here's the thing, this is a fantastic book so far. I think it's really great. I think the writing just is a bit slow. It was really quick in the beginning when it's about Ariadne's journey, and Perseus was part of the mix, right? Theseus, with the story of the Minotaur and how that came about. And then it started to slow down when the rest of her story started to happen in adulthood. And it's for very understandable reasons. The way her story goes is there's a lot of isolation and loneliness, and it's her story. That's how it's supposed to be. But just taken me a little while to get through. So I want to finish this one, and I like it. It's a good book. It just has taken me a little bit to get through. So the next book I want to read is a bit of a personal one. It's actually a nonfiction book because I do run a health coaching business in my day-to-day. And so I'm going to read a book called The Company of One. This is more of a business book, and it's just about running a more tight-knit, community-based business. So for any of y'all interested, I'm going to read that, but we don't need to talk about it. I'm looking forward to it though. And the last book I'm planning on reading, which I've already started, is the short All Systems Red novella, is it, by Martha Wells. So this is the Murderbot Diaries, and these are so recommended right now. I am not the biggest sci-fi person. I am open to sci-fi. That's definitely a journey that I'm going to be going on, but this is so fun so far. So I started listening to this in the car while I was driving yesterday, and they have the graphic audio versions of these books out now. And you guys, it is so cool. It's so cool because you can hear all of the sci-fi noises. Oh gosh, I'm not doing a good job describing this, but you can hear the noises of the spaceships, the weapons, the computers. Everyone has a different voice. There's a cast of voice actors. And I think for someone who can feel a little overwhelmed by sci-fi, which is funny because high fantasy doesn't do that, but sci-fi just I think I have an identity crisis with it. I'm oh my God, this is new. It makes it a lot more accessible when you feel like you can hear it and there's different voices. And so I highly recommend it. Even if you are just a full-blown sci-fi person, it's so cool. I think you'll love it. So these are the books I am planning, oh my gosh, on reading in May. I hope this was fun for you to just go through these different reads, and make sure if you want to see more content from me, you like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what book you're most looking forward to reading this month. Is there anything that's just coming out in May that you've been waiting to read, or is there something on your TBR that you're finally getting to? Because I want to know. I'm always looking for more things to add to my already long form TBR that I'll never get to. So love you, hope to see you soon, and have a good rest of your week.